If you've got questions about the carnivore diet, I've got answers. Hi, I'm Jen. If you're new here, I am delighted to meet you. I'm a doctor of physical therapy and I've experienced radical healing on a carnivore diet, and I would love nothing more than to help you do the same. The Q&A that you're about to watch was originally filmed live, but I'm sharing it here because I find that a lot of people have the same questions, so why not share the answers with as many people as possible? This is something that I plan to do fairly frequently, so if you like it, definitely let me know. And if you have questions of your own that we did not go over in this video, leave them in the comments and I will either get back to you there or I will include your question in an upcoming video. I hope you enjoy. So Nikki wants to know what's cooking. So I'm actually cooking a pork butt in the Instant Pot. And the reason why, I don't eat that a lot, I eat it sometimes, but the reason I'm making it is I'm working on a YouTube video that's 10 carnivore meals for $5 or less. And I mean, this whole pork butt, it's like 6 pounds and it was about $7.50. So $1.29 a pound. So I mean, that's like a super cheap, really easy carnivore meal. So that's why I'm making it. How much fat should I eat a day? I know we mainly eat based on how we feel, but how much fat would be considered too much in a day? I mean, honestly, the best way to know if you're eating too much fat is if you are having bad diarrhea or a lot of nausea and indigestion from eating too much fat. I think a good place to start if you want to know a number, like a macro number, a number of grams, would be about 1 gram per pound of body weight. So if you weigh 200 pounds, about 200 grams of fat. And then you can go up or down from there depending on how you're feeling. Again, nausea, diarrhea, that kind of thing. As long as you're reasonably close to that ballpark, you're probably fine. And if you're just eating 700 grams of fat per day, I mean, it's just you're gonna feel terrible and it's just gonna come right through you like watery diarrhea. So you're gonna know. Many people asked a similar question here of how many weeks into carnivore did you notice changes? So for me, they're specifically asking how long did it take to start seeing results with your skin, and what other kinds of things did you notice, okay? So for me, if any of you don't know this, the main reason that I started the carnivore diet was because my skin was exploding from the outside in with multiple skin issues, but specifically psoriasis. So my skin was terrible. And so within about the first 3 weeks of being carnivore, my skin was still getting worse. At about that 3-week mark, it started to take a little bit of a turn, and at around 6 weeks was when I started to notice, oh my gosh, this is actually helping, and I could start to see a little bit of difference in photos. And then around 6 months is when my skin was mostly clear. Now, with an issue like psoriasis or vasculitis, like I had, or even acne, sometimes, you know, even when it's healed, it still doesn't look quite perfect, right? It takes a while for the discoloration to go away and all that. And so that was kind of like, you know, a year or something, and getting good sun and that kind of thing. But I think for skin stuff, 6 weeks-ish to start noticing difference, 3 months to really be feeling good, 6 months to be really, really looking good. And then some other questions here, so what other things have you noticed improvement-wise? For me, so I basically just did it for the psoriasis, all the skin stuff, but within about 3 months, I was like, I haven't binged at all, which is freaking miraculous. I've been binging since I was 15 years old. So it wasn't even like setting out to stop binging. That was just a wonderful side effect. So those are my biggest things. Probably 6 months in is when I realized I didn't have any allergies, and I only noticed because other people said that, and I was like, oh, me neither. And I also had a knee surgery when I was 22, and so throughout my life I've had a little bit of knee pain with activity, and I don't have that anymore either. These are small things. I don't even mention these because I had such big things before, but all of those, I mean, I would say I noticed within 6 months or so. So to answer all those questions that people asked of how long did it take, that's kind of my best way of answering that. What would you tell yourself when you just were starting out if you could go back? Okay, this is what I think is the best advice for somebody like me who's struggling to stay motivated and has a history of binging. That advice is, do not try to be too strict at the beginning and figure out what the exact perfect thing is. Do not try to be like, what's the exact perfect number of protein and fat macros, and what about coffee, and does it have to be grass-fed, and all. Like, don't even mess with all of that stuff. Don't, in my opinion, don't try to go lion right away. If you are struggling to be on the diet at all, it's all just too strict. I think if you just dive in too hard, too fast, it's not sustainable. So ease in. That's the advice I would give myself. And I don't even mean ease in like don't go full carnivore right away. That's a question coming up down here. I just mean ease in like go carnivore, but don't be so crazy strict with the carnivore stuff. Like eat the carnivore rainbow. I heard somebody say that. I wish I could remember who so I could give them the credit, but eat the whole carnivore rainbow. If it's carnivore, you can have it. And if you're overeating, you know, that's not ideal, but that's so much better than the alternative of starting and stopping and starting and stopping. And anyway, be kind to yourself. That's what I would say. And then how was your transition phase? That's another question here. And then I'll get to that question box. So for me, I had bad cravings at the beginning. We'll talk about that in a moment, but that's very normal for me. I was so addicted to sugar. I was such a binge eater. So that was a struggle for sure. I also had watery diarrhea for like 3 weeks, if you care to know about that. But I had been on some different medications for my psoriasis in the past that did the same thing. So I was kind of used to it, honestly. And this is terrible, okay? But I was like losing weight at the beginning from that, I think, losing all the fluids, which is not how you want to lose weight. But I think that was making me like, ooh, yes, I'm so skinny. So I was kind of fine with it. But I remember learning on Facebook, never trust a fart. That was the comment. And that is legit, okay? If you are just starting carnivore, some people are constipated at first. That was not me. But if you're just starting carnivore and you're on the diarrhea side, do not ever think that what you're experiencing is gas. Make sure you're sitting on the toilet, just FYI. I've been carnivore for about 2 months, lost 10 pounds, but I got psoriasis. That's interesting. So I wouldn't think the carnivore diet itself would cause psoriasis. That doesn't make any sense at all. But that doesn't mean that you didn't already have the setup for psoriasis by having leaky gut or whatever, and then you changed your diet and that sort of changed your gut microbiome and potentially oxalate dumping. I mean, there's this whole series of things that could be going on there. But I don't think at all that it would be from the diet. Do you know any books or podcasts on binging? I just realized I have that problem and it's been awful lately. Yes, my most recommended book is called Brain Over Binge by Katherine Hansen. And in my experience, the book itself is not enough to get over binging. I think it can probably help, but that attacks the mind piece of binge eating, but it doesn't do anything for the biology of like having these constant glucose and insulin spikes, of having your gut microbiome freaking hijacking your body and making you crave sweets. It doesn't affect your sort of dopamine seeking. The book can't do that. You have to address those things biologically by changing your diet. So I think that going on a very low carb diet, or the carnivore diet specifically, and reading this book, perfect combination. You can find that on Amazon. Okay. I like to snack a lot. I like chicken chips, but they're very expensive. Do you have suggestions for quick and easy carnivore snacking? Okay, yes, commercial carnivore snacks are expensive. I actually just got some really good snacks today. They're pretty expensive, but these carnivore crisps, they're good, but it's not something you would want to just willy-nilly have on hand for a quick snack. So cheaper snacks. I mean, pork rinds are cheap. I like to make beef jerky a lot. That's still kind of expensive. You might buy 2 or 3 pounds of beef for $15, maybe more. And then once you dehydrate that, you don't have a whole lot there. So yeah, carnivore snacks are expensive. I mean, boiled eggs, something like that. But here's the thing. I really evaluate why you're snacking. If you're new at being a carnivore and you're in this phase that I was talking about of enjoy the whole carnivore rainbow and just eat all the things and don't worry about it, then don't worry about snacking. But 6 months in or so, really evaluate, like, are you actually hungry? Do you actually need a snack? Because maybe you don't always. And believe me, I'm mostly talking to myself here, okay? This is something I'm constantly dealing with for myself. So I'm not scolding you at all. But that's what I would suggest. Let's see what else. Yeah, my favorite is beef jerky, but I like it too much, so then I overeat it. But if you just, like, if you actually need nutrition from the snack, not just entertainment, then simple things are like sardines and packets of tuna. I mean, those are not that delicious, right? But you're also not going to overeat them. You're going to just eat them when you actually need the nutrition. You can make your own. You can dehydrate or air fry chicken skins. Those are really delicious. So if you're maybe making some chicken without the skin, which I don't know why you would ever do that, but if you are, save those skins and then you can make them yourself. How did you get your glucose monitor? Do you need a prescription for the one that goes on your arm for the CGM? So I had a CGM in the past. It was through Tastermonial. The company actually will, you do have to have a prescription, but it's like there's a doctor or something on staff that will write the prescription and they'll send it to your pharmacy so you can get it. I did not have great luck with it though. Basically it just read low all the time, and if it's in the 50s, it will set off an alarm on your phone. You can't turn it off. There's nothing you can do to turn it off. And so it would wake me up all night. It was terrible. I ended up sending it back. But some people have good luck with it. So yeah, Tastermonial. You can find them on Instagram. I had an affiliate and all that, but I never shared it because I didn't have that good of luck with it. What is the best way to make sure you're not overeating? The best way is to make sure you're only eating when you're hungry. Again, I am preaching this to myself. A lot of people ask me, if we get to these questions, I'll get into this, about if I've like hacked the weight loss and if I'm like mastering losing fat, and it's still definitely a struggle for me. Now, I'm not getting down on myself about it because I've had such healing on a carnivore diet that I can't be like, well, but I haven't lost the 10 pounds I want to lose. You know what I mean? So I'm just really being patient with that. But I definitely find myself eating when I'm not hungry and eating more food than I'm hungry for. So yeah, I mean, you can track if you're that kind of person who it's like, okay, I know that I want to eat 150 grams of fat and 150 grams of protein a day, and I'm going to track it, and that helps me and it doesn't drive me nuts, then you can do that. But in general, I mean, some days you're going to be hungrier than others, so that's the best way to know. Easier said than done, I know. The Carnivore Trucker says, I eat about 2 pounds of 80-20 ground beef a day, but if I add even a tablespoon of butter, I get diarrhea. Yeah, I mean, 80-20 ground beef, I want to say that's probably, gosh, I don't know off the top of my head what percent of fat that is. Probably around 75. So it's 80% beef and 20% fat added to the beef. That doesn't make it 80% fat, if that makes sense. But so you must be like right at that teeter of exactly how much fat your body needs, and anything additional is making you have diarrhea. So don't add the butter. Or if you love butter with your beef, get like 85-15 and then add the butter. You'll probably be fine. What are your favorite ways to relax and have fun without food? Oh my gosh, Carrie, that is such a great question. Like I said, losing weight has not been easy for me the whole time I've been a carnivore. I basically weigh the same now as when I started. Now, you might have seen pictures of me in the past when I was binging, and so it's like my weight wasn't necessarily more than it is now, but it was like inflammation up and down and up and down. So in a photo, it looks way worse. But anyway, yeah, so my weight's been really stable, which I guess on the one hand is good. It's not going up. In the past, it was up and down and up and down. But anyway, I feel like I'm really trying to do some self-reflection. For one thing, I'm eating too much. It's for sure. I just love to eat. Okay, I just love it. But also, I have just been working too much. Okay, so I'm a physical therapist. I work part-time, which is basically all day, Saturday and Sunday. And Monday through Friday, I am just creating carnivore content. And I know that seems probably like, well, what is she, like filming a reel for 30 minutes a day? Like, big deal. But I swear, I'm working from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed. I don't stop thinking about it. It's too much, and it's like affecting me. It's starting to affect me physically, my sleep, my relationships. Like, I'm really struggling. And so, and literally in the last week, I've been like, okay, I've got to stop working every day at 5 unless there's a special occasion like this where I'm going to go live or something like that. And then I have to actually do something I like to do after that. Like I need to go to a movie, or I like to paddleboard, ride a bike. I just don't do those things because I'm just constantly like, oh my gosh, I have to do this work thing. And it's like, I just haven't been stopping, and that is not healthy. I haven't had a day off in 5 months. Not healthy. Do as I say, not as I do. Do not do that. And so it's like I'm rediscovering these things that I like to do. I love to listen to podcasts. I love to read. I have this awesome dog that I like to hang out with, walk her to the park and go lay on a blanket, basically just be outside. So that's what I like to do. Thank you for asking. And I'm going to start trying to do more of it. It's just hard. Courtney Luna does 130 grams of protein, 130 grams of fat. Curious about what those macros do. As you know, I'm upping my calories okay, so this person who's asking, her current macros are 105 grams of protein and okay, she said 105 grams of protein and 140 grams of protein. I think she means 140 grams of fat. But to answer your question, Roxana, if Courtney Luna is doing 130 grams of protein and 130 grams of fat, she's probably picked that number of 130 because it's like probably her goal weight is about 130 pounds. And then she is aiming for about a 75% fat to protein ratio, which is what you get when your protein grams and your fat grams are equal. Those end up being about 75% of your calories from fat. So what do those macros do? They don't do anything special. It's just some people need a little more fat, some people need a little less fat. That must be what she's found that works for her, is about 75%. So Roxana, if you're at 105 for protein and 140 for fat, I don't know what the fat percentage is off the top of my head, but I have a calculator on my website. So I'm gonna go there right now. You guys can go there too if you want. It's delightedtomeetyou.com/calculator. And then you just plug in those macros. I'm going to plug yours in and I'll tell you exactly what your percentage of fat is. So 140 for the fat. I'll show you guys. So here's my computer. You just plug in, I plugged in the 140 here, and then I'm going to plug in 105 for the protein, enter. Oh, it's not enter. I guess I have to click. And so Roxana, that means, okay, let me backtrack. Courtney must be at 70% fat, because those numbers you just told me are 75%. So that's pretty good. If you're feeling good with that, stay there. If you are having diarrhea, you feel like your weight loss is completely stalled, and you feel like maybe less fat would be helpful, the thought of eating fat is like disgusting you, consider decreasing your fat a little bit. If you're a little constipated, you are trying to be in higher levels of ketosis for one reason or another, those would be reasons why you might want to increase your fat. Great question. Will nausea go away after starting carnivore? For most people, yes. That could be a couple of things. It could be that you're not used to so much fat in your diet and you're having a hard time breaking it down. It could be because your stomach acid is not acidic enough after years of eating a bunch of plants or processed foods and stuff like that. And so you can ease in a little bit. Some people like actually keep a few plant foods in when they're first easing in, and that helps. That's not my style, so that's not what I did, but that does help some people. Otherwise, things that can help at the beginning are not necessarily eating a lot of the heavier fat and not adding extra fats to your food. For many people, just that will keep you from being nauseated. Digestive enzymes can be helpful. Now, several people asked me about some supplements and stuff, so I have a bunch sitting here. So I have these enzymes sitting here right now. So if you're having trouble digesting protein and you're feeling like kind of heartburny, then this is really useful. This is just from Amazon. I don't have a link or anything like that, but it's digestive enzymes with betaine hydrochloric acid, which will help a lot. And it helped. I knew about this going in, and I had one day what I thought, I was like, oh my God, I'm having a heart attack, and no one's gonna care because they're gonna say it's from my diet. But it was heartburn. I'd never experienced it before. I did not know it could hurt so bad. And so I took this and it was gone within 15 minutes. So I ended up taking this for a couple weeks, and then now I don't have to take it. And then this one is more for digesting fats. And so those can be helpful. They're not that expensive. I don't know, $30 or something on Amazon. that can help a ton. So give that a go. And if you're still struggling, DM me and we'll talk through it more. Veronica says, I'm a travel agent and I work way too much. I think this is affecting my weight loss. Stress. Yes, I feel like this is where I am too. I've been on this diet for about 7 weeks. I've lost several inches. Do hormones play a role? I'm premenopausal. So yes, for sure hormones can play a role, but it's not just, hormones aren't just what we think of as like testosterone and estrogen and progesterone. Those are hormones, but so are things like insulin and leptin and cortisol. Those are hormones too. So I think a lot of times when people say that hormones have to be balanced and all this stuff about hormones and weight loss, they are not necessarily talking about sex hormones. They may be talking about these other hormones. But absolutely stress can affect all of those. And so, girl, we should have like some kind of program we do together to decrease our stress and regulate our hormones. Believe me, I'm in this with you. And yes, being premenopausal can affect your sex hormones, and that can affect some weight loss stuff too. So, I mean, if you feel like you're not getting anywhere by trying to decrease stress and stuff, then you certainly could see your physician and have them test your sex hormones. Okay, what ointments did you use for your skin while on carnivore? I mean, I had some prescribed medications. Triamcinolone was one of them. Been a while, so I can hardly remember, but as it was healing, I mostly was just starting to use a lot of different moisturizers, mostly store-bought things like Cetaphil, gosh, I can't remember, just the ones that don't have any scent, often the ones that come in a jar and are super duper thick. And then I also started using tallow at that time and other natural kind of lotions like cocoa butter and that kind of thing, and that really helped. Just keeping everything moisturized really helped a ton. I had gastric bypass in 2016 and have about 50 pounds a regain. I think you're saying you've regained 50 pounds. I can't eat big meals. Is it okay to eat several small meals throughout the day? Absolutely. This is very important for anyone who's had some kind of surgery like a gastric sleeve or a gastric bypass or whatever. I feel like this community of people that have had those kinds of surgeries are so underserved because you can't eat very much in one setting. And so you need to be eating the most nutrient dense foods. And I think the carnivore diet is perfect for that, right? It's concentrated forms of high fat, high vitamin, which reminds me I need to take some liver today. Anyway, we'll get there. But yes, you need to eat small meals throughout the day. Try not to drink too terribly much because you have such decreased volume in your stomach. And so you can dilute your gastric acid a little bit and also just fill up this valuable stomach space. So try to do your drinking between meals as much as possible and just eat small meals. You're right on. Perfect. Take a vacation with that cutie guy. Okay, you're saying to relax. I need to take a vacation with that cutie guy. Okay, so I think that cutie guy is probably Darren, my boyfriend. Somebody did ask me, this is on our questions, if I'm single. No, I'm dating someone. Thank you for asking. And yes, I could definitely use a vacation. I'm going to Colorado with a girlfriend in 2 weeks, and we'll see if I can relax and not work the whole time. I just can't seem to stick to a carnivore diet. It's like I think I'm going to be miserable without the carbs, so I don't even give it a chance. Any tips? Okay, there's another question about this. Let me see if I can find it real quick, and I'll sort of answer both your questions at the same time. It was something about how do you stay motivated? Like I keep starting, I want to do carnivore, I keep starting, and then I just can't stick to it. How do you stay motivated? Okay, so for that person and for you, couple things. First of all, you have to have a good enough why. Like, why are you doing this? If it's because it's like your next coolest thing of like you heard you're gonna lose weight from it, that's probably not gonna stick. It's just not good enough. When a pizza's right in front of your nose or there's a birthday party or whatever, and you just are like, forget it, I'm just gonna eat this stuff tonight, and then you just end up right on the same path, right? Okay, so really figure out your why. Is it that you have whatever health condition that you are so miserable with, or you're having to take medications that like you literally can't get pregnant on them because it's poison. I mean, that was my case. Or you are so humiliated to be seen naked by your spouse, or you are not going to the pool because you would not be caught dead in a swimsuit. I mean, things that like really you feel in your heart. You got to figure out your why. Okay, that's one thing. The other thing is the thing in your brain that's telling you like, I just can't without the carbs. That is not your real brain. Okay. In the first month or so, especially, that is not your brain telling you that. That is a couple of things. It is the gut microbiome, these bugs that live in your gut that need carbs to survive. They are dying off, and they're literally hijacking you through various methods, through your taste buds, through your vagus nerve, bunch of things that make you really truly believe that your actual brain is telling you, I just need an orange, or I just need to have a little bit of treats in my life because it's whatever the thing. Like, it sounds really rational, but it is not real. Okay, that is like your hijacked brain trying to tell you what to do. So that's one thing. So in my opinion, one of the best things you can do is pick a day on the calendar, or pick a number of days. Let's say 30 days from now. So what's today? June 7th. For 30 days until July 7th, I will not eat a single food that is not carnivore. Now, that doesn't mean I can't ever again. And if somebody brings me the most fantastic cookie from this fancy place in Las Vegas, and this cookie's $500 and I have to try it, and they brought it just for me, like, okay, put it in the freezer, and on July 7th, you can have it if you want. But the point of that is you start to actually break free from these addictions, and you don't have your brain hijacked anymore. So once your body is off of all those chemical substances, drugs, basically, from the processed food and sugar, you can be really thinking rationally. On July 7th, you can think, I'm going to have this cookie now. I don't want to be carnivore, or I'm going to continue on down this path, but I've thought this through and I want to have this cookie. Or you can think, I feel so good. I've never felt this good in my life. The cookie, like, no one's going to know I didn't eat it. I'll just pretend I did. And carry on. I mean, you've got to get past a couple of sort of gates that take 4 to 6 weeks to get past, from healing all the biological stuff that is addicted to these foods. And then you can start thinking rationally. So I know I'm kind of beating a dead horse, but I hope that helps a little bit. And you just have to, it takes some time. Like, you just have to get through, gosh, in my experience, probably 3 to 6 months of no cheats, to where you're no longer having such urges, right? Like, I can now be around cookies and ice cream and donuts, and it's not like I'm excited to be around it, but I'm no longer like, but what if I just have one bite and I'll just sneak in the bathroom and just have like a little bit. I mean, this does not happen to me anymore, and it won't happen to you either if you can get past that. The other thing is, if you're still including any sweet flavors, I don't recommend that, because I think that kind of carries that addiction on. So that includes flavored electrolytes, honey, chewing gum, anything that's a sweet flavor. I mean, like toothpaste, for example, has never been a trigger for me, but if that's a trigger for you, if you're in there like sucking the toothpaste off your toothbrush, then you need to even get rid of your sweet toothpaste, and that will help too. So I hope that helps. I'm so passionate about this. So if there is any more to that question and I did not answer it, please DM me and we'll talk about it more. Okay, my husband also does carnivore, but he needs to gain weight and can't do it eating this way. Any suggestions? Yes, you can gain weight just like you can lose weight. You have to be increasing, most likely, fat intake. Now, he can increase protein intake as well, but he's gonna have to definitely be pushing to like comfortably stuffed a few times a day. If he's not eating very frequently, like let's say he only eats once or twice a day, if he increases the frequency of eating, that will help a little, because it's going to keep insulin up more throughout the day. And when your insulin is elevated, you aren't burning stored fat. So that could help increasing the frequency of meal times if he just feels like he can't gag down more food. Gosh, what else? Increasing the fat content of what he's eating. So for example, if you guys like to do 80-20 ground beef, like start doing 73-27. That's going to be a way for him to increase calories and fat without necessarily even noticing, or just adding, you know, a little bit of fat to stuff, adding a little bit of extra butter. In my opinion, the most delicious fat out there is fat trimming. So adding something like that to meals slowly, right? If you're just adding it all at once, he might not feel too good. But if you can slowly increase it, that will help. And then, I mean, okay, so I was gonna say like making sure he's doing resistance training and stuff, but that's gonna increase his metabolism. So then he is gonna be still fighting a little bit with trying to keep weight on. What a problem to have, right? But I get it. I mean, your goals are your goals. And so I still think he should be trying to incorporate exercise, but just probably gonna have to increase the food a little bit more in that case. Excellent questions, guys. Okay, Veronica says she can book my vacation. Let's do it. Message me. I would love to. I don't know when I'm gonna take it, but I am turning 40 next year in about 11 months. So I wanna do like a big thing for that, if you wanna help me plan that. What exactly is the carnivore rainbow? So, you know, people say eat the rainbow, like all the colorful things, all the fruits and veggies, get all the colors on your plate. So the carnivore rainbow is any kind of carnivore food, right? Like seafood, beef, lamb, pork rind nachos made with pork rinds and cheese and bacon and sour cream. And it's just like all the indulgences of the carnivore diet, and getting as many different kinds of food as you can get, which actually I have just like a free carnivore diet cheat sheet on my website. If you go to delightedtomeetyou.com, it's the first thing up at the top of the page, and you can just click and you can get it sent to your email for free. And it has like 170 something ideas of things you can eat on a carnivore diet. So if you're running out of ideas, check that out. And that would be the carnivore rainbow. Can you explain fat adapting? Yes, let's go over that. So most people on a non-carnivore diet mostly use carbs for fuel. That's the easiest fuel source that your body can use. It's quick and easy. But becoming fat adapted means switching from using carbs as your main source of fuel to using fat in the form of ketones as your source of fuel. But there's a process to get there. So at first it takes, I don't know, a day or two to burn up all the glucose in your bloodstream. So that's your first fuel. Then your body will use the glycogen, which is the storage form of glucose in your muscles and your liver. That takes a couple of days. And then after, I don't know, 4 or 5 days, something like that, your body is pretty much out of stored glucose in whatever form. And so it has to figure out something else for fuel. So it starts trying to make ketones. And so if you're testing your blood or peeing on a ketone stick or whatever, you're gonna start likely noticing that you're producing some ketones at that point. But it's not efficient yet. Each individual cell in your body is not yet ramped up to use fat as its main fuel source. That takes like 4 to 6 weeks for the mitochondria in your cells to become more efficient, to actually have more mitochondria in your cells and become more efficient, to really kicking into this fat as fuel, you know, and starting to draw from your stored fat to use as fuel as well. So that's what becoming fat adapted means, so that your body recognizes instantly fat as fuel and doesn't kind of go from like, oh, but we were trying to do carbs, but wait, we're out of carbs, but now what do we do? You know, so there's not like this lag between the two. It's now efficient in burning fat. That's what it means to be fat adapted. And usually when you're fat adapted, there's a couple ways of knowing, but one is just not being hangry anymore. You know, when you're eating carbs all the time, your energy goes from meal to meal to meal. And so as soon as you're running low on glucose, you're starving, right? Like you just can't get enough food, and you just can't stop eating. Whereas someone who's fat adapted, they can just as soon as they run out of dietary fat to burn, they can kick into their fat stores on their body. And we all have a lot, like tens of thousands of calories of fat on our body, even lean people. So you just like, your body's like, oh, whatever, like eat whenever. I've got this over here on these, what do you call this? Oh my gosh, love handles. I've got these love handles right here that I can eat, so don't worry. Anyway, that was my super awesome explanation of fat adaptation. Is there a minimum amount of protein I should be eating per day? They think they tend to undereat. And then another person asked a similar question, do I track? This person has been getting frustrated because they usually go over on their protein. So a couple things on that. Minimum amount of protein. I mean, I haven't really heard a lot of information from the research of like, this is the minimum amount you need to eat. But I would say probably like half your body weight in grams would be minimum. So if you weigh 200 pounds, probably 100 grams of protein would be kind of minimum. But you can go way higher than that. I mean, you could at least go up to about what you weigh. So if you weigh 200 pounds, something like 200 grams of protein would be fine. You can go over that too. Now, if you eat 500 grams, I mean, you're going to be freaking stuffed, but I wouldn't worry too much about the grams of protein you're eating is basically what I'm saying. If you're like still hungry and wanting to eat it, I wouldn't worry too much about it. And so to the person who asked, do I track? No, typically not, unless I'm trying to do a video or something where I'm sharing macros with you. Sometimes I do track for various reasons if I'm like trying something for myself, but typically I do not. And to your point about getting frustrated going over protein, I wouldn't worry too much about it. I mean, especially if you're only eating when hungry and you're eating carnivore foods all the time, you really shouldn't worry about it too much anyway with protein or fat. But if you're gonna worry about one or the other, and let's say you're just not losing weight, then maybe do try to pay closer attention to the fat and keep it in whatever number you've determined is gonna be best for you. But usually with the protein, you don't have to worry too much. Now, if you are checking your glucose and ketones with a blood glucose ketone monitor and you're finding that your glucose is going way up when you eat a lot of protein and you're trying to stay in ketosis, then okay, there's a good objective reason for why you shouldn't go over on your protein. But I think for most people, that's probably not the case. But if you've got objective data and tests that you're doing on yourself, I mean, we're all different, then sure, I support you in this whole trying not to go over on protein. And so if that's the case, if you've got a valid objective reason for why you want to stay under a certain number of protein and going over is hindering you, then I would just increase the fat to your meal. So you're getting fully satiated, but you're not feeling like, you're missing out, but you're not getting that extra from the protein. I hope that helps. Okay, how many pounds of meat on average do I eat in a day? About probably 2.5 pounds, which is probably more than I need. I probably need more like 1.7 to 2 pounds, but I just eat more than that. And I think that's probably part of why it's hard for me to lose weight. Do I use any artificial sweeteners like stevia? The answer is typically no, because even 1.5 years into this, as a former binge eater, I still struggle when I have sweet tastes. Okay, so around January, I had been carnivore at that point for almost a year. I decided I think I can handle some sweetened electrolytes just during my workouts. It'll be like a nice treat. And I mean, I did fine with it, but I definitely started having more cravings at that point. Like I sometimes find myself like, ooh, what if I could just have just like a little piece of chocolate, right? Like I haven't felt like that in a year. So I know it's from reintroducing those sweet tastes. However, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I started doing reverse osmosis water. I just get it from a grocery store. And so a bunch of things are removed from the water, which is great, but so are any of the minerals in the water. And so theoretically, you should be adding some back. Well, I don't currently have any unflavored electrolytes. So sometimes I'll just put a little salt in there, but like I went on a 25-mile bike ride the other day and I just felt completely exhausted. Like I definitely was low on electrolytes. So I ordered some unflavored electrolytes, but in the meantime, I still have like these flavored electrolytes, which are wonderful. And I would highly recommend them for anyone who can tolerate the sweet flavor. But it is definitely a struggle for me. I have to be very careful of being mindful that I'm gonna have some cravings because I'm drinking this. And so, I have to also be careful not to drink 6 of them a day because I will just be seeking the sweet flavor. So some people can get away with it, some can't. That's my only experience with stevia is those electrolytes. Anything else I wouldn't even dare because I just know I'm just too addicted. But some can, and that's awesome. I'm glad for them. So the next question is, do I ever eat a high quality chocolate like Who bars? I've never heard of Who bars, H-U, but before I was carnivore, I was kind of keto, and I would eat this chocolate called Lily's, Lilys, and it was so freaking good. And it was just like sugar alcohol basically. But it's this, my answer to this is the same as the stevia. I know that if I had that chocolate bar, it would take me down this path that I don't want to go down with craving carbs and giving into things that I don't want to give into. So it's like way too touchy territory for me. So no, I don't do that. Do I take any supplements or vitamins? Yes, the answer is recently a yes. I didn't really for about a year, my first year on the carnivore diet, but I had some labs done a couple months ago, and the labs determined that I did have a few deficiencies. Now, they were all there before I was carnivore too, but I was hoping they would just be miraculously cured from being carnivore. And while they were slightly better, they were not a ton better. So for example, my vitamin D is quite low, like 29, I think. My magnesium was low, and I had some liver function stuff that was really messed up from having been on immunosuppressants for my psoriasis for 3 years. So based on my exact objective data from my labs, I'm taking a few supplements. I'm not recommending that anyone else do that, because you don't know if you're deficient in those things. But if you get labs done and you find out that you're deficient, then absolutely I would support you in supplementing those things. So what I'm taking right now for my liver, actually no, that's not for my liver. For my liver is this NAC, N-acetylcysteine. And for the vitamin D, it's this D3 and K2. I got this off Amazon. And actually, this has a vegetable capsule. If anybody knows of one that doesn't, that would be like a gelatin capsule, please DM me, because I want to switch to that. This is fine, but I want to make it as carnivore-ish as possible, just like as a challenge almost. And then normally I take magnesium glycinate, but I ran out, and Keto Chow sent me this, so I'm taking this right now for the magnesium. It's magnesium chloride. And then sometimes I'll do like a magnesium soak, foot soak thing. So that's what I'm doing for those deficiencies. And then actually, this is a fun thing we're gonna do together. I'm also supposed to take 1 ounce of liver a day. So the chopped up pieces at the top it's 1 ounce. I measured it out before this. And normally I take frozen liver and I grate it into my ground beef before I make burger patties or like beef soup or something like that. But just in the last couple weeks, I've graduated myself to trying to do raw liver, but I don't like the flavor, okay? So this is what I do. I put a little water in my mouth, then I drop this in there, literally keep my nose plugged the whole time, and swallow it down. I'm gonna show you what it's like, and you'll see that I won't even gag, okay? So a little drink of water. Got it. So I have to do that 4 more times because my 1 ounce is cut into 5 pieces, but that is that, and then those supplements I showed you, that's what I'm doing for supplements at this point. Hi Jennifer, do you think intermittent fasting helps some people when stalling? Yes, I think intermittent fasting can be great. Before we were talking about for someone who wanted to gain weight, increasing their number of meals can be helpful because it's going to keep insulin a little bit higher, and that's going to help keep on weight. Intermittent fasting will, part of why that's so helpful is it will do the opposite. It will keep insulin lower for longer, and so it can help to tap into your fat stores. I struggle with any kind of fasting. I've been pretty open about this because I think of my history of binge eating. It's like the moment I feel restricted, I'm like, forget that, I'm gonna overeat. Like that's my crazy brain. And so sometimes I do intermittent fast, but it's not something I've been able to make a habit, but I think lots and lots of people do really, really well with it. So if it's working for you, go for it. Okay, great question. Do you change up your workouts according to where you are in your menstrual cycle? I don't. I have heard a lot about this, but here's the thing, getting into a lot of TMI here. I had an IUD for the last 10 years, so I didn't even have a menstrual cycle. I suppose my hormones were probably fluctuating a little bit, but I didn't ever know when or what was happening because I didn't have any markers, right? Because often if you have an IUD, you don't have a period. I just got it out a few months ago, and so now I'm like new to all of this. It's all a learning experience for me again. And so I I haven't experimented with the working out thing around that. But I can say that sometimes, just actually like the last couple of days at the gym, I just was like, I just don't feel it. Like I can't lift as heavy today. I don't feel as good. I felt fine, but some workouts just aren't as good as others. And I wonder if that is somewhat hormonal. So something that I think maybe I'll kind of look more into, but I still, I like to go to the gym, lift as heavy as I can, get a freaking killer workout. And then just on those days that I'm not feeling it as much, I just take it easy. And so my body may be kind of forcing me with the hormone stuff, but I don't, that's not part of my practice. And then another person said, what kind of workouts basically should you do on carnivore? I think that regardless of your diet, the best exercise is the one you're gonna do. But if you're up for suggestions and you're willing to do anything, then I think absolutely resistance training, progressive overload, lifting heavy, going to failure. I mean, that's the best thing for so many reasons. I mean, you're obviously going to be building muscle, you're going to be increasing your metabolic rate, you're going to improve your stamina, your balance, all the things that you need for longevity, which as a physical therapist that works with old people all day, every day, well, the 2 days a week I work, it's so important. Building your bone density. I mean, it is like the secret sauce besides the diet. So you certainly can still do that even if you're a carnivore. And I have done some interviews recently with some endurance athletes, like ultra marathon runners and stuff. And a lot of them say that even on a keto or carnivore diet, they do have to supplement with some carbs. But some people DM me and say they don't, that they're pure carnivore. So I guess I would just say, be open. If you're doing something like longer distance cardio, ultra marathon type of stuff, just be open and don't try to be too dogmatic about I'm only going to do this and this, but really determine how you're feeling, how you're performing, and make the necessary changes, I guess is what I would suggest. Dairy on carnivore. So in my opinion, the doctors that I follow, the people that define the carnivore diet to include dairy, that's what I agree with. Any animal product in my mind is carnivore. So dairy is carnivore. But many people don't respond well to dairy for various reasons. Maybe because of the lactose, maybe they are a little addicted to it, maybe it affects their autoimmune condition, maybe it makes them hold on to extra weight. I mean, those things are fairly common. So I think if you are including dairy in your carnivore diet right now and you're doing fine, no reason to change it. But if you're struggling for whatever reason, you're overeating, you're not losing weight, your skin condition is not clearing up, whatever the thing is, consider cutting out dairy for a month and then adding it back in to really know for you bio-individually if it's negatively affecting you. And if it is, you can cut it out. And if it's not, you win and you can keep it in. Have you experimented with myo-inositol? I haven't. I think that might be a sweetener. Because inositol, that sounds like a sweetener. I'm just gonna Google it. I love Google. I remember in school, especially in grad school, they'd be like, no, you can't use Google. It has to be like a peer-reviewed journal or whatever, but Google's so much faster. And I do agree. Depending on how important it is, Google may not be the thing, but I can certainly look up this myo-inositol. Okay, so it's not a sweetener. It promotes hormonal balance to support ovarian function. Not heard of it. I don't know a thing about it. I'm welcome to hear more. Any advice on weight loss plateau, please? Well, I don't know if I'm your girl because I have not mastered it, but I think for many people, there are a few things you can look at. One is your level of stress. If you are stressed to the max, you're not sleeping well, you are a new mom, you have a new baby. I mean, those situations, you've got to get through those situations first or your weight is not going to move because it's just affecting all your hunger hormones, probably your sex hormones. I mean, it's not good. It's hard to get the weight to budge when those kinds of situations are happening. Also, really consider if you're overeating. I think some people say you can't overeat on a carnivore diet. I completely disagree. Some people, especially binge eaters, absolutely can overeat on a carnivore, on any diet, including a carnivore diet. So be mindful of that. If fasting is something that works for you, you can start playing with some intermittent fasting or eating in only maybe like a 2 or 4 hour eating window. That can be really helpful. Cutting out the snacking. I mean, that's a big one for a lot of people. Just sort of entertainment eating, cutting that out. That can help a ton. Have you tried glycinate to help with sleep? Yes, I have. Okay, my friend, I accidentally deleted Ayana's question, but she asked if I tried glycinate for sleep, and I think she's talking about magnesium glycinate. Yes, that is typically the type of magnesium that I take, but I ran out of it, and I have all of this, so I'm gonna finish this, and then I'll buy more magnesium glycinate. I did not know that it was a sweetener, actually. And since I'm taking it in capsule form, you must be talking about glycerin. It must be made of the same thing. Anyway, I don't taste any sweetness, so it doesn't seem to affect me in any way. So yeah, I haven't had any issues. I wouldn't be too concerned about it. Maybe if it was like in a liquid drop, then maybe consider avoiding it if you're gonna taste that sweetness, because I know that's a struggle for you as well. But as a capsule, it's fine. What is normal for BMs on a carnivore diet? I think you're asking how frequently is it normal to have a BM? And it's a range. So some people, even on a carnivore diet, will poop every day. Not me, but some people will. Some people literally will go once a week. And I would hesitate to call that constipation, even though it's not very frequent. As long as it's soft, it's easy to pass, it's, comfortable, then it's fine. The way we're eating produces a lot less waste than eating a bunch of processed foods and carbs and stuff like that. And so there just isn't going to be as much volume of poop to push out. And also we're not eating fiber. So that builds up and makes the stool bulkier and, adds a lot of girth, we'll say. So if you're not eating that, again, the size and the amount of poop is naturally going to decrease. So whether you're going once a day or once every 7 to 10 days, as long as it's easy, you're not having bleeding, you're not having abdominal pain and bloating, nothing like that, you're good to go. Thank you all for watching. So fun. I love getting to spend this kind of time with you, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Good night. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you, especially if you've stayed for this whole thing. I just love, love, love that you're here. Please do me a favor and like and subscribe, and catch me on Instagram where we can connect every day.